a new moon on the 12th of October. So Jupiter rising is spot on for this, isn't it?
All right, we've got 4 minutes. I'm going to work on going live. So
Okay, Phil.
you guys just talk among yourselves. Even if we're a little early, that's fine. So
Yeah, get the kinks out. Actually, let me go get a little a spot of tea for. So I can...
You get a spot of tea. That's wow. You sound very English there with a spot of tea.
Yeah.
I got a new camera. Do you see my like high definition look now?
No, it's worse than the old one. And Phil, I'm not joking.
What? It's really good. You don't like it?
No, it's worse than the old one.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
Why?
Because you're all blurry.
I'm not blurry. You're blurry.
You're
It must be you. It must be your connection, buddy.
Okay.
How do I look to you, Adam? Do I look clear?
I'd have to say, Phil, but you're a little grainy, and it might be a connection. I mean, it's not.
Which Phil? Phil G or Phil M?
Phil M.
I'm blurry?
I think it might be because you're backlit. There's just a little bit of. No, you got a lot of light behind you, but it's not significant.
Adam, that's where Phil always sits, and he's just got a new camera that's supposed to be super HD, and he's definitely grainier than before.
Doesn't look like
actually, Phil, Adam, because you're saying it's my connection, Adam's pictures look a lot clearer than yours.
Huh.
Yeah,
so,
I think.
Sorry to piss on your bonfire, but
that's fine. I'll have to do some adjustments, but it looks great here. But anyway, I'm not going live yet, so I don't know what this show is. Okay.
But you are recording it.
It is recording on this end, but I'm not live on Facebook yet. So I got to put in the information.
Okay, I'm gonna join the hat club. I'm gonna put on my little chef. Actually, I should put on.
You just can't resist, can you? See, that should be the trend, not masks. It should be hats, all types of hats. That's really. Okay, I'm about to click go live here. So go live, and then I'll share it to Adam's page and Phil's page.
There we go.
That's better. It's the hat club. It's a hat trick. Redirecting. I'm letting you know. I'll let you know when it's live. Pretty slow going live.
Right. Better?
Looks like we're live now. So.
Oh yeah, we're live on
You guys
Facebook.
you can do the intro while I'm sharing to the other pages. So go ahead and talk while I'm sharing. So.
Okay, in that case, good evening and welcome. So on the Phil and Phil show tonight, we've got Adam Graham. So Adam Graham is a friend of Phil's, and I actually don't know Adam, so I'm going to be really intrigued and interested to hear what Adam's got to share. Phil said, let's get Adam on the show. So I was like, yeah, cool, let's get Adam on the show. So Adam, as Phil is setting it all up, can I ask you, if you would, introduce yourself, please, to myself and our viewers?
Okay. Well, I am a plant-based raw food chef. I do a little bit of cooking here and there, but you know, my main training and passion is in live food, living foods. Actually, Phil Madeley was very instrumental in making that that happen because you were part of, you were probably, you were the first person to interview me at Tree of Life when I wanted to come over there. And I was basically interviewing to work, either my options were to work in the cafe or work with the landscaping crew. And so fortunately, I got in with the cafe. So I've been doing plant-based cuisine for since 2007, and worked at Tree of Life, taught there as a chef and an instructor. Then went on to, been involved with several raw food restaurants around the country, opening them up, or juice bars. I wrote the Complete Idiot's Guide to Raw Food Detox.
Oh, wow.
Ran a retreat center, raw food retreat center in Michigan for 3 years. And now I'm based in Orlando, and I'm still doing consulting. I'm doing coaching. I've been hosting these like 30-day plant-based transformations, which have, because of circumstances, a lot of people have been pushed online, where it's kind of a blessing for a certain extent because of greater reach, but I'm still involved with the community. I did my first farmer's market in months, since the markets had been shut down. Hopefully they don't go and lock them down again, because the market was great. It was wonderful to reconnect face to face, whether wearing a mask or not, but interacting with the community and sharing. Right now it's there's a lot of fresh produce. I got for avocados, passion fruit. I have mangoes, like all from people's gardens and around here in Orlando. So I'm just very active with food as medicine, and being personally accountable for your health, actions, and well-being. So
Wow.
that's it.
Great. I mean, that sounds like you're really busy. So what year were you at the Tree of Life, Adam?
I think it's 2007 and 8. I was there for a 9-month stretch, and then I worked, that was in the cafe, and then I worked for a few months with Gabriel Cousins. He had launched a online community, and I was doing the video support, because that, prior to being a raw chef and learning about raw foods and making that my career, my background was in video production and film and TV. So I have a little background. Did about 10 years in production and editing and video stuff. So. Oh,
brilliant.
Yeah.
Which of course in this environment now is really useful if you know that gear.
Yeah, if the technology keeps coming at you, so even though I have a background in it, I mean, I actually know what B-roll means. Like B-roll is a term used by youngsters coming out of film school and whatnot, or television production, but they don't actually know what that word means. They just know it's the footage that you cover interviews and stuff with. I mean, it actually comes from when they had tape decks, and they had an A deck and a B deck, and then you roll the B deck to cover. That was the days where editing was not on a computer or non-linear. It was more involved. So, I got I got there right on the verge, but yeah, technology is really empowering now, and allows us to reach many people and have access to all this information as well. So it's great.
Yes.
Thank
yeah.
you.
Yeah.
You're getting saging us.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, amazing. Thank you, Phil.
Sage and cedar, just clearing the energy here.
So Adam, what would you say in the field of raw living foods? What would you class as your speciality or your niche?
I make really kind of accessible, simple recipes. a very old dear friend coined the phrase, because I didn't really know how to describe what I was making. I would take like an avocado and put some lime juice on it and slice up some apples and put some raisins in there and add a little spirulina and some goji berries and you know, it was like at the end of it, what do you call that? And so
Right.
she would just call it a gadget. And so she said, what kind of gadget are you making? So my recipes turned out, you know, I would just refer to them as gadgets. The book I wrote before The Complete Idiot's Guide to Raw Food Detox was called Zen and the Art of Gadgeting, which gadget is then turned into a noun or a verb where you're, you know, taking this ingredient, you mix it with that, and you know, it's like alchemy. So I like to use a lot of ferments. I'm a big fan of miso, chickpea miso preferably, but even I, you know, acknowledge that soy can be beneficial, I feel, if it's fermented. And then, yeah, just a lot of, you know, for myself, feeding myself, I tend to be more fruitarian. And I like superfood nutrition as well, because I acknowledge that, you know, the conventional and even homegrown fruits and veggies are lacking, unless you're doing some really, you know, innovative soil enhancement or making some sort of brew with effective microorganism and, you know, all kinds of rock dust. So I do supplement. I have a bunch of little display items to share of kind of my home, you know, method of staying mineralized and covering all my bases, so I don't end up deficient in B12 or vitamin D or, you know, any of these number of things that people are hyper vigilant about, or that and you know, people that do a healing diet sometimes run into problems. They have blind spots. So, you know.
So when you talk about superfoods, what are superfoods to you?
Great question. And I actually put a video up on my YouTube channel of a little over a week ago, like the criteria I use. So perfect. A couple of weeks ago, I probably wouldn't have been able to answer that, but I consider something to be a superfood if, one, it has at least 3, and this is just me kind of like comparing different foods, but at least 3, maybe even 4 nutrients which are like above, in a single serving, you're getting at least like 70% of your daily requirement. Number 2 is that it ranks really high, probably above 80% in complete protein, and that would be signified by a kind of analyzing the 8 essential amino acids and their presence in the food. So if it ranks really high, like, you know, spirulina, I think, and of course there's a website that kind of I use, nutrition data, and it kind of crunches these numbers. So the protein quality needs to be up there, and you can get scores of like 110 for protein quality for things like spirulina, hemp seed, things like that. And then the third is nutrition profile, where it has a kind of a full spectrum of nutrients. Now, you can also opt in and get a special consideration if you have interesting and rare phytonutrients like zeaxanthin or astaxanthin, you know, any of these antioxidants or phenols or volatile oils or, you know, unique compounds that you find in a lot of the herbal, like holy basil or, you know, a lot of the spices kind of border on more medicine than food, but then there are some herbs that you could, I have holy basil growing here. I'll show you. Here's my holy basil. Special guest. on the Phil and Phil show, Holy Basil.
Well, hey.
Nice.
So this is, I just took cuttings from my garden, and there's actually 3 different types of holy basil in this pot. So I guess this is a good segue for superfood. This one with the purple stem is called Krishna. The one here that's more green and light is called Kapoor. And then the one in the middle that looks kind of like Krishna but doesn't have the purple stem is called Vana. And each of them has its own kind of flavor and unique properties, but this one, the Kapoor, I cut it up, I put it on watermelon, I put it in salads. I think I'm out of focus, but that's okay. And so aside from making teas with it and tinctures, you know, I have the ability to then also just eat it out of hand, you know. So that's one way to get those things in. So going back to what do you consider a superfood? Also things that you can, like powders, like moringa powder, you know, considering that meets all the criteria that I just mentioned in terms of protein. It's high in calcium, crazy high in iron. If it's fresh, it's high in vitamin C. If it's not high in vitamin C. Magnesium, potassium, and then of course it's got all kinds of, you know, compounds and aminos and oils, and so.
So let's just look at moringa a moment then. So with moringa, would you use it in powder form or would you use it in capsule form?
Special guest today, moringa. So this is moringa that I actually dried, and then I grind it in the Vitamix, and then I put it through a mesh, do like 3 different sizes. When I do this, all the surfaces in my house are covered with green powder. And my lungs, I get green boogers at the end of the night. So
you probably need a mask on for that.
You know what? I don't, I think it might be beneficial in my lungs. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, give me a couple weeks. I'll let you know if there's any.
Yeah, I always question that. You know, the superfoods are amazing, but I do question like bagging up spirit, especially something like spirulina that's so fine.
Yeah.
And breathing that dust in, because, you know, to me, just our lungs are not designed to be taking that the dust in. So I don't, you know, I'm just wary of it. That's all. And
I
think
probably consider that. I know that there's a compound. I can't remember what it is. I need to follow this up, but it's used in agriculture with the horse. It's some sort of brand that they feed the horses, and you can buy big bags of it. And there was they realized that the people working in the factories bagging up brand meal or whatever it was, and I'm sorry I can't think of it right now, but they found out that none of them would call in sick, and they made the correlation that these people were like secondarily consuming this product because it was airborne, and some of it would get through the filtration. And so people just, they kind of studied it and found that it was beneficial. And so they started ingesting it instead of inhaling it, but what led them to research it was the fact that these workers were secondary, you know, I think they probably had some preventative masks and stuff, but there was enough getting in that it was like, wait a second, all these people that work over in this warehouse, none of them call in sick. And then we got all these other people that work in the office and do this. And so, but
I think that's how they discovered DMSO, right? The forestry workers were cutting the trees and getting, like, inhaling those, you know, the DMSO that was coming off the trees, and that's how they discovered DMSO and MSM. because they weren't getting joint issues and stuff like that. I can't remember the exact details there, but
Oh wow.
yeah,
happy accident there.
yeah.
So, but yeah, so moringa is something that's very accessible for anyone living in a warmer climate. You know, most of the southern states here in the U.S., you can grow moringa. That's all that stuff. All the moringa that I got, I either got from my own backyard, or people around town have trees and they don't harvest or trim their trees, and I go, hey, I offer to come and manicure the tree, and I take away all the, I mean, here, look over my shoulder. That's my moringa pile there.
Nice.
Oh wow.
So you dried that? Is that dried?
It dries very quickly. That I cut on Friday, and it's I'm gonna probably give it another day, but it's already brittle and crumbling. Of course, I separate it down so the stems and certain other parts, they hold more water, the flowers in particular. So I'll separate those out, and I might even put them in the dehydrator. But in the end, I have multiple parts from that harvest. I have the leaves specifically to make the powder, and then I have the stems and the flowers, which I bag up and I make tea with it. That's what I'm drinking right now is moringa flower and stem and lemongrass tea, which the lemongrass is growing in the yard. And I cut the tops of the lemongrass and I use that. I just simmer that. Most people, they know lemongrass from culinary is the bottoms. It's kind of like when you get green onion scallion, you use that bottom part, where I don't cut down that far, because I just let the plant grow. I just give it a haircut and then use the tops, and it gives me flavors. And so, yeah, I'm blessed to be here in Florida. I know that you can grow moringa in Arizona, because I watched several YouTube videos from some guy in Arizona doing all kinds of cool stuff with moringa, like the cuttings. I'll cut the long branches, and I brought a number of them home. I trimmed the top, pull the leaves off, and I just put it in a pot of dirt that was wet. I have soil mixture, and 3 weeks later, all those, they have leaves coming out of them. They're trees again. So I just transfer them into the ground. I basically, I'm replicating, cloning the plant, so I can plant them other places, just and have an abundance of moringa, so. And that's what's happening here too. These guys are this Kapoor variety. You put it in water, and it just puts out roots within like 4 days, and you just put it back into the ground. I learned that because I was putting cuttings in my bottle of water, and I would drink the water because it gives it a flavor. It's amazing. Makes you want to drink more water. And I kept refilling the bottle, and I'd look at the leaves, and I was waiting for it to get to wilt and look like, okay, it's time to change this out. And it just wouldn't. It just, like 5 days in, I'm like, man, this thing is, and I just kept refilling it. And then I noticed there was roots coming out of it. So I was like, oh my gosh, I got a baby here. And so eventually I took it out, and I just put it in a pot, and there you go. I got.
And that's where Bruce Lipton talks about environment. So depending on, when that branch was in contact with the air, it was a branch, and when you stick it in contact with water, it becomes the plant. It's incredible.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure we have some of those abilities in terms of different our cells being able to specialize when the environment changes, because that stick, all of a sudden, where it was producing bark or buds, now it just intuitively switched to putting out roots, which is a whole nother, cellular structure. But the intuitive nature of that plant, which I believe we have as well, you know, in terms of regrowing limbs or, you know, stem cell technology and things like that. And just, you know, providing the environment and the nutrition kind of loops back to superfoods and things like that, where I think for the most part, the general public, their body is in a survival kind of panic state of just stay alive. So, you know, you can't expect your cells to specialize if they're in survival mode. And so when you connect with high vibration, high nutrition, hydrating, nourishing foods and medicinal compounds and herbs and things like that, and you get the junk out of your body, then all of a sudden you experience miracles, you know, like, oh my gosh, it's a miracle, your cancer went away. So no, it's not a miracle. It's called biology, you know. It's what the body does when you enable it and support it. So
yeah, when you create space, the magic happens, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
And more like, so what to me, superfoods, it's the frequency and the vibration coming off these things. I mean, that, like, you're seeing that life force. I mean, if you put like a piece of iceberg lettuce in there, it's like, it's not going to regrow, you know. So like the frequency of the moringa tree or the holy basil or something, or like saguaro cactus outside my window in Arizona, like the frequency and the vibration of those, you can feel it. I put a picture up on Instagram of me standing beside a saguaro cactus, and like, you can feel this wisdom and this energy in these wild natural foods. That you stand next to a field of monoculture lettuce or something, it's just like there's no life energy there. So
yeah, soybean. You're standing in a field of soybean. You're just like,
okay, it's like, yeah, I've driven across country here, and you're like these giant, like, mass fields of like dead soil. And there's no life, there's no energy, and like, wow. And this is like, and then that's been taken and it's been processed through animals, or it's been processed into high fructose corn syrup, and like, there's nothing left. Like, so really a superfood is just a wild food, a natural food, a whole food grown in the soil naturally. It's like, no wonder people are sick. Like, we're eating this thing where there's no life energy in the soil anymore. So Phil, what are your thoughts on superfoods over there?
I was going to ask, what are the native superfoods that you're able to wild forage? Because, you know, I'm describing all this tropical stuff. I'm sure you got a whole different medicine cabinet.
Yeah, I mean, in England, all of our weeds are real superfoods, because you've got nettles that everyone destroys, and nettles are, you know, they're blood purifiers, they're blood tonics, they're really high in silica, they're really high in iron. And years ago they used to use it to drive the devil out. So when my granddad was a little boy, his mum used to get a bunch of nettles and whack them on the back of the leg when they were naughty, because she believed that it was the evil spirits that made them naughty. But actually, if you look at nettle, it basically does that. And it, you know, and it cleanses the field, and it's just one of those amazing plants. And nettles, Phil knows as well as me, nettles grow anywhere and everywhere. So you can use the roots as medicine, you can use the leaves, you can use the seeds, and the actual stalk of the English nettle they used to use to make ropes with.
Wow, very fibrous.
So you know, so that's just one of our, you know, that's just one of our native superfoods, and Britain's got, you know, actually so many simple, you know, cleavers. Do you know cleavers, Phil?
A little bit. It's kind of sticky, right? Isn't it a sticky plant that sticks onto you?
Yeah, the little sticky thing. So that's, so in English traditional herbal medicine, that's the number one thing to move the lymphatic system.
Nice.
You know, and it's I tried making some nettle and cleavers pesto.
Delicious, right?
Oh man,
I know that nettle makes a good pesto. So maybe it was
nettle leaves do, and I'm sure cleaver leaves do, but I stuck the whole cleaver plant in.
Okay,
and
yeah.
actually it was like twigs.
Yeah.
My friend of mine, Maribel, so talking about nettle, she went to a clinic in Mexico where they whipped people with the nettle.
Yeah.
It's like a whole therapy, and it just like and because it creates this circulation that helps. So it was part of a fast detox, and this circulation creates a detoxification effect on the body.
Yeah, it makes the blood circulate, and I think that's what my granny was kind of.
Right.
No, not my granny, my granddad's granny, without knowing it, was that they were creating the stagnant blood to move.
Yeah.
Well, my mum says nettle indicates fertile soil, and cleavers is also called sticky willy.
Yeah, I've heard of that. I think also, Phil, that I think cleavers it's got quite a lot of local, because we used to call it love hearts when I was kids, or sticky buds is another name for it.
Yeah, sticky buds is something different around here. So.
It sounds like we shouldn't go down that route.
Yeah, that's more of a THC. Well, we can get into CBD. That's, you know, I'm a big fan of CBD. This is a 1,500 milligram oil blend or whatever, and I use it. I don't really feel CBD dramatically. I have had a tea made with the flower, CBD flower, and found that to be very calming. But the oil, for the most part, I use it because of the science and research behind it. But for me, in terms of like anxiety or sleep or anything like that, I sleep fine, and I only get anxiety when I smoke the sticky bud or whatever you said.
Oh, you see, yeah, you're talking about a whole other bud.
I stay away from that, but the CBD, I do know, you know, in terms of the research and study and benefit that's come out, that I'm like, okay, I'm better with it than without it, even if I'm not feeling it, knowing that our bodies have and produce CBD, you know, naturally. So that's
the real trick, though, Adam, isn't it? Is how do we get our bodies into the state that they're able to produce their own CBD?
I think we do. It's the modern society, the way we live in such an unnatural environment, that the CBD that we internally and naturally produce is used up like instantaneously. It's just oxidized. It's in such demand because we have receptor sites from head to toe.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't, you know, like how much of it gets burned off from the EMF from my Wi-Fi, you know, like, I don't know, but I'm sure we weren't designed to be bathed in, you know, EMF pollution 24/7. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't have Wi-Fi, so that's one bonus for me.
Hardwire.
Yeah, always. Yeah, I don't like it. So,
yeah, I think there's a lot of things that just, inhibit us from being full expression of our potential. And I think we probably all struggle. I know we all struggle to, like, we're doing everything we can, yet we're still like, wow, I think we all know that there's more. We feel that frequency from these plants. We know that we can vibrate at this higher level. And yet you like walk out on the street and there's like car fumes, or, you know, you walk past someone's house or somebody who's got sunscreen on. You're like, whoa, it's just like, we pull all these energies that kind of pull us down, and we constantly go, okay, we're going to raise our vibration. It's continual. So.
Yeah, it's a
and that's why it's even more critical to have as much of these superfoods, these wild foods, these just whole foods in there that have got the colors and the frequencies and the vibrations and other levels, you know. So
sure, I got ginger here. This is super accessible for many people. I think it's getting more attention, and you know, most people are like, oh, ginger, it's only for curry and ginger snaps. Well, I mean, throw that in a smoothie, throw that on your oats, throw that in your chia, turmeric, of course. both of these things are something that I'm able to grow where I am. I actually put ginger in the yard. I just went to the store. I bought actually probably not even a pound of ginger, and it'll probably yield. I'll probably get 9 pounds by the fall when I harvest the plants. Within a week of planting them, they emerged. Now they're like waist high with all the rain here. So it's very empowering to just, and that's why I think technology with the internet and all this, a lot of stuff is accessible if you don't get distracted. If you can just be like, okay, I'm going to learn this today, or I'm going to try and do this. Just like with the basil cuttings, it was like, okay, I discovered it just through accident, but then when I started researching, it was like, oh, that's very common, that thing. Oh, and there's dozens of other plants I can do that with.
Yeah.
So another superfood is honey. A lot of people, they think it's just a sweetener. Of course, if you're strictly vegan, then maybe honey is not your thing. I was a beekeeper for a couple years. I think I got stung enough times to be able to participate in enjoying local honey, especially if I know the bees. That's one of my personal requirements. If I'm going to engage in some sort of animal product, not, of course, I'm not going to eat their meat, but if they have if I know the cow or the goat, I would consider consuming the milk. But, I don't drink a stranger's milk. I don't drink eat a stranger's honey. So as long as I have some sort of connection and relationship, then I would consider it. But, as far as like a dogmatic, like, no, are you never going to touch that? I do think there is a place for sort of supporting bees in particular. They're not native to the United States. They're an import. And now
bees are really?
Yeah, they're European.
Oh, wow.
So, they kind of spread, and there's a level of I mean, there are people that have bees that it's like a pet. They care for it, and they don't take the honey and give them sugar. They allow the natural cycle. The bees are super efficient. They always produce more because they're always prepared for a drought or for the winter or something, and so they have stores. And they make, when they don't eat the stores, they keep creating more storage until there's an excess, and it doesn't register. They just keep expanding the hive. So in the spring, they're not going to eat the old honey that they stored from 2 seasons ago. They'll probably never eat that because the plants are producing fresh nectar, and they eat that fresh nectar. They are kind of like us in terms of, would you go in the cabinet and get canned pineapple, or are you going to go out in the garden and eat a fresh pineapple? You're going to eat the fresh pineapple. And that's what they do. When the flowers are in bloom, they're eating fresh nectar. They're feeding the brood fresh nectar. The honey is storage for winter, when flowers aren't flowering, when there's their version of famine or drought or some sort of emergency. So it's an emergency food for them. For us, it's a superfood because they've concentrated flower nectar, there's bee pollen, there's enzymes from their saliva in there. There's all kinds of like cool antimicrobials, and so it's like, if you can have a relationship with that and be comfortable not exploiting, then I think it's fine to consume bee products.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, that was that's really interesting about the bees and them creating excess. And and the fact that they were European, because I had no clue that there weren't bees in America.
Not this variety that, you know, there's the certain wild bees that burrow, or, you know, there's other pollinators, of course, bumblebees and wood bees and what they call sweat bees, but the specific ones that are kept for honeybee hives, the Apis something or other, it's the Latin name, but was not native to the United States.
So the major bee for the bee that they're using for pollination and for honey generation has been kind of an imported bee.
Yeah, there's like an Italian variety. There's a more Northern European variety. There's a, you know, within the honeybee kind of family, there's different varieties. I think there's even a Russian or, you know, Eastern European variety. So when if you are a beekeeper here in the United States, you look for that, you know, oh, what part of the country I'm in? Okay, I'm going to want a warmer climate variety, and then you get that genetics.
Yeah, I mean, I really like the homeopathic effect of local honeys, because it's like,
yeah,
if you're new to an environment, it's great to find some local honey, because it's like it's tapping us into, you know, the certain allergens in that environment, and it's like it's a homeopathic effect on what's going on, and just helps our body adapt. It's like honey could be a homeopathic vaccine in a way, you know. So
sure, you're getting pretty much trace toxins, pollens, plant resins, and all kinds of stuff from that specific locale. One thing I heard regarding traveling that I feel might be just kind of similar to this is when you travel somewhere, is to eat the local. One of the first things to do is eat the local ferments, because it's going to have the probiotic that are airborne there and that are native, and that will get in your gut and will be familiar with maybe the pathogenic probiotics that you might ingest. So this would be like a food poisoning preventative, because food poisoning, like, the locals don't get it. One, maybe because they know not to eat X, Y, and Z, but also maybe because their gut flora is like, yeah, we know that strain of whatever, acidophilus or bifida, whatever. And so they, you know, if you eat a local ferment, probably sparingly at first, because you don't want to, you know, blow yourself out on too much of a good thing. But that's kind of made me, when you said local honey for allergies, that made me think of that, the ferment factor.
Yeah, it makes me think about, like, when people go to India and they get sick, but are they connecting in with the environment, or are they just continuing eating junk food, or, you know, they're not really tapping into that frequency and that environment. It's like, I'm still the same person. It's like, no, you're now in a new environment. You're gonna need to adapt to that environment. You've gone from living here with a certain set of microorganisms, frequencies, energies, style of people, air quality, and then you're gonna go over here and you're gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna be fine. No, your body's gonna need to adapt to that other environment, and it might take some time, you know. So,
well, for those people, McDonald's is global, so they could just keep shoveling whatever on top and never connect with the local biome, so to speak, which is unfortunate. Hopefully people start waking up and not you know, that was the crazy thing, is you go halfway around the world, and I travel with people, and they'd be like, yeah, oh wow, there's a KFC here. I'm like, kidding? Really? We're halfway around the world, you want to cook? What? Bye. I'll see you
in
guys
Thailand,
later.
you want to, like, if I go to Thailand, I want to try fresh durian, man. That's like,
Phil, fresh durian in Thailand on the markets is amazing.
well, would you spend a bunch of time? Where did you go, Phil? You went to Thailand, right?
Yeah, we went to Bangkok.
Mm-hmm.
I actually researched Bangkok.
And you
And
really you really tuned into the environment. You were fasting and eating the local foods. Really,
yeah, absolutely.
you didn't get sick, you know?
No.
So talk about that.
When we were in Bangkok, I don't know if Kay, I don't know if Kay's on Facebook or not, because if she was, she could type in.
She's watching. Yeah.
Is she watching?
Yeah.
Kay, if you're watching, what part of Bangkok did we go to? I specifically chose this area of Bangkok down the something or other road. And there was actually a raw food restaurant called oh god, Kay, remember. Kay, she loved it. She remembered more than I did. That was a while ago now. Anyway, we found a raw food restaurant, and then when I was looking around, I found an organic restaurant. Then I found another one called the Sprout, and then we found there was Rasiana's. That was a raw food retreat center. And then when I was walking from Rasiana's back to where we were staying, there was a functional medicine clinic that did intravenous ozone therapy and cancer treatments, and one of the hotels we stayed in actually had a sauna and a swimming pool up on the roof. So we were in Thailand in like 35 degrees in the sauna. And then when we went, I actually, do you know, I don't like cities normally, but I actually really enjoyed that part of Bangkok. And I think it was because I carefully chose what me and Kay were really into, which was, you know, we wanted fresh fruit. So we didn't really eat traditional Thai street food. What Kay and myself did was actually ate fresh Thai fruit. So we'd find a little local store, and we go and buy durians and mangoes and bananas, and well, mainly, I tell you what we ate mainly was mangoes and papayas. That was our main food there. But so, I mean, we did fruit for about 4 weeks when we were there.
So how do you compare fresh fruit like that to like fresh fruit that you buy in your supermarket there in England?
Well, there's absolutely zero comparison. You know, for the ripeness, the quality, the size, the value for money, it's just, you just can't compare it. You know, trying to.
Here's some of the local mangoes.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, I remember Susan and I went to the Yucatan, and it was incredible. The food just had so much more flavor, so much more richness. It was just like, wow, and it was like fresh every day, fresh market stalls, and it's like, wow, that's Eden to me. That's heaven.
Yeah, right. I mean, you can't. It was just, yeah. The one thing I regret was I didn't eat much dragon fruit. We ate, even in Thailand though, for you know, us whiteys, durian's expensive.
Really?
Yeah. It's they know how to put the pounds on the durian for us. Yeah, mangoes were amazing. Yeah, mangoes, papayas. I mean, pineapples over there. Kay, before we went to Thailand 5 years ago, Kay hated. See, Susan's just messaged us, Phil. Did you get that?
Yeah.
Before we went to Thailand, Kay absolutely hated pineapples with a passion. By the time we left Thailand, she couldn't get enough pineapple. She was a pineapple queen. And she's like, I had no idea. And I said, it's because they just weren't ripe. And, you know, probably the variety, because the varieties change a lot as well, right?
Right.
So I imagine she probably had a very unripe, not very tasty pineapple in the UK. And then in Thailand, they just have pineapples that are just so edible. And watermelons, Phil, masses of watermelons.
Right. Yeah. Well, the ones that we're just used to certain select produce is designed or bred to like ship really well, like, and stay on the shelves, and they don't care about flavor.
No.
Well, I'd like to comment on mangoes. I never experienced, I mean, even I lived in Taiwan for 2 years and experienced some great mangoes. I didn't realize that Florida has amazing mangoes. And we have a mango season that we're in the middle of right now. That's I have probably close to 100 pounds of mangoes in the other room. A lot of them are, I picked them green as opposed to waiting for them to ripen, because someone asked me to trim the trees and said I could keep everything. They will ripen, but usually what I do is I drive about an hour away, and there's an area that has a very unique climate, microclimate, and they grow mangoes there. And I've hosted, like I usually do 2 a season, early, like in late June, early July, and then I do one in September, a mango tasting. And each of those tastings, I'm able to get 20 different mangoes for each one. So in total, in the whole season, I could potentially get over 40 different types of mangoes, and each of them are unique in flavor, size, and texture. There's some, and they have really, you know, they name them all exotic, like according to their flavor. I have a orange sherbet and lemon meringue and ice cream, and and then there's some that are named in the traditional, maybe Thai, like Nam Doc, and or that's Vietnamese, I believe. But it's like most people, all they know is the Tommy Atkins mango and maybe that yellow champagne mango, and which I can't stand Tommy Atkins. They're very fibrous and boring, but for the most part, people don't really experience fresh, like they don't have a religious experience with fruit like I imagine we all have had. And it's because, you just go to the grocery store and you get freaking red delicious apples and green bananas all the time, Like, what are you gonna...
Yeah, and hard, in England, we have a variety of mangoes called Kent.
Okay.
And yeah, they're just mangoes.
They're like, meh.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, occasionally I've had a really good one, and that's like, that's like a religious experience when I was like, okay, this mango is just like heaven. And, that's one in every, well, I don't know.
If you can smell the fruit, they usually then, like most of the fruit in the grocery store, you can't smell it. Maybe cantaloupes every now and then, and honeydew, and a good pineapple. But for the most part, you pick up a mango and you like put your nose and you're like, you don't know what it could have been anything. But that is the true test of like local fruit, is you pick up the mango and it's intoxicating. And you know that this thing is like, I'm supposed to eat this.
Yeah.
This was made for me. As opposed to the grocery store where all you smell is fried chicken from the deli, and you can't really smell anything else. You walk out with a bunch of unripe fruit. But grapes never smell, but you can always get good grapes. That's one of my favorites. The staple.
Yeah. I mean, I eat quite a lot of fruit in England, but it is pretty lame most of the time. Occasionally we can get some really good grapes.
Come to Florida.
Well, we're in lockdown, aren't we?
I know people. We'll sneak you in.
Okay, fantastic. We'll be over. Yes, I'm due another. I haven't been to America for a long time, so I'm due another trip.
All right. Well, you're welcome.
Thank you,
Anytime.
Adam. Yeah, that's great. I love it. I was at the tree with Phil, so
Yeah, that's a magical place. I miss Patagonia, and especially the monsoon season. It's nothing like the rain in the desert to really, connect you with all the elements and nature. So
I remember when they were really rocking out the garden, and like being blown away. Like I don't know who was running the garden, but it was real early on in my days. And I remember one time they just started bringing in all these types of watermelon. I'm just like, what? There's like a yellow watermelon and just like all these different flavors. And it's like, I never ever had red watermelon. I'm just like, and it was just so good, like in so many varieties. And it's just, yeah.
Was that Alden?
It might have been Alden. Alden was really good at different types of squashes. And we didn't know what to do with them in the cafe. We'd bring all of these freaking these types of squashes. Which is sometimes a little hard to deal with raw food wise, but you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, Oldham was there when I was training, actually. I'd forgotten he was running the garden, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, he was running the garden when you were there, Phil?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So you were there probably back when I was there.
I was there in 2005.
Okay, so you were there before I was there. Okay.
Yeah,
Alden was there for a while, I'm guessing then.
Yeah, I went there in April of 2005.
Did you hike to the top of Red Mountain?
No.
No.
Phil will tell you.
He lived on the land the whole time. Like he slept in the dorm like twice.
I slept on the sun deck just out from as you go straight over the yoga deck and you keep going, there's a little sun deck. So I slept on the sun deck, and apart from that, I was either asleep on the sun deck or in the kitchen for 13 weeks.
Sounds like you made the most of it.
Yeah, I mean, I did a shift when it wasn't my shift.
You're always working.
I was just in the kitchen.
So I think you did when you were in Bangkok. I think Elizabeth said the Eastern Seaboard area, something like that. So
yeah, she's so. When we were actually in Bangkok, we were down a certain road, and that road was like the alternative. It's like in quarters. So if you go down a Koh San road, that's where all the suit makers and the silver and all the gold is. And on the road that we were in Bangkok was where the organic restaurants and the organic food stalls and the raw food restaurants, and it was a real hot spot for alternative stuff, and that's why I chose that particular area in Bangkok.
So I remember a big thing you were doing when you were there, and like this is a nice segue into fasting, detox, cleansing, was you were doing like mass amounts of lemon juice every day, right?
Yeah.
Talk to us about that.
So we did 100 mils of lemon juice. 100 mils is hang on.
There's a lot.
So 30 mils is an ounce.
That much.
So is it that much, is it?
Yeah, it says 100 mil on there.
Okay, so yeah, so it's about 3 or 4 ounces.
Yeah.
It's exactly 3 ounces.
Yeah. So yeah, so we were doing 3 ounces of neat lemon juice on an empty stomach every morning.
So why were you doing that?
To dissolve the biofilms and to dissolve the mucus, and what lemon juice does is it pulls on the lymph through the digestive tract, so it detoxes the lymph through the digestive tract. As it goes down through, it's just such, it makes this, if you imagine what lemon juice does in your mouth,
yeah,
yeah. So it makes the cells work. So it makes the cells suck in and squeeze out. So it's like cellular exercise is my take on lemon juice.
It's kind of creating like a purge. It's like rebound.
So it's basically purging the cells. So we did that for about a month.
Wow.
And yes, Susan, straight lemon juice, just nothing with it, just neat on its own.
And did you see anything of note coming out that
we were also doing an intestinal cleanse as well, so, and we were also eating papayas and papaya seeds.
The papaya seed, right? That's like an anti-parasite bacteria.
Anti-parasitic, yeah, very, very powerful. So yeah, we were doing lemon juice, papaya seed. We were doing enzymes, proteolytic enzymes, and we were doing 100% fruit as well.
Yeah. Now, papaya seeds are known to be also a natural form of birth control for I know for men,
Oh
and I
wow.
believe so for women. Yeah, that's an old tropical island trick, and it's been. I think they did some studies with some animal studies and showed that I think once you've done like a 60-day kind of daily regimen of maybe a teaspoon of seeds, that sperm count and motility drop to a significant level to where you basically you're infertile from a male perspective, and you at that point would just do a maintenance dose weekly, and that upon stopping that your motility and sperm count would return within, I think, 30 days to normal.
Wow.
So
Wow. I mean, I was doing like 2 tablespoons.
well, I mean, you did that in a month, I'm sure. Yeah, your swimmers were
Swum.
incapacitated.
They would swim out.
Which, I mean, it kind of makes sense when we're detoxing and cleansing. We don't really want to be making babies. Like,
Yeah, my first raw food teacher, who the first person that ever taught me about raw foods was in Thailand, in Koh Samui. His name's Francis, raw food chef, originally from France, and amazing guy, kind of like a sage. But he told me about the papaya seeds, and that it was tradition in the Polynesian islands, that they would consume the papaya seeds just to make sure there weren't any unwanted pregnancies. And then when you partnered with somebody, then you would stop, and you would, if you wanted to have children. So it was their way of responsibly maintaining the population in their tribe or island or something to that extent. So.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, they're definitely powerful, and then if anyone's gonna eat like a whole papaya and the seeds, peel it, just eat a very small amount to start with, because when they knock the parasites out, it can make you really sick.
Yeah, I'm surrounded by papayas. Like, a papaya here will grow. You get a 10-foot papaya tree in a season, and aside from having mango in the other room and avocado, I have probably 50 pounds of green papaya and some ripening papaya right now that, I'm going to go to the market and pretty much give it away. But, papayas are like free kittens around here, at least the green ones. When they get more mature, the animals will get at them because they know what's good. But yeah, it's abundance, and knowing that you can eat the seeds, and that it's a superfood, or a medicinal. I don't know what you want to call it. You could even dry it and powder it, and capsule it, put it. I made I think I used it as a black pepper substitute in ranch dressings and some other recipes. Just made a point. I think I made a blue cheese dressing with noni, macadamia nuts, and papaya seeds, and some other stuff, and it came across really nice. It's like,
wow,
this is like a super cleansing salad dressing.
Yeah, that's what I used to do with papaya seeds in England as well, was put them in a dehydrator and dry them out, and then put them in a Vitamix, powder them, and then use them in a pepper shaker.
There you go.
Or sometimes
put them straight in a grinder.
Well, yeah.
So Kay said she eliminated a lot of mucoid plaque during the trip. So
So now Kay said that, Adam, Kay had great results.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
My introduction to raw foods from that experience in Thailand with the raw food chef, Francis, and we were there in Thailand specifically to do a 7-day fasting cleanse, and we were doing the Arise and Shine protocol. You know, Dr. Richard Anderson, who wrote Cleanse and Purify Thyself. The guy with you have your chompers and you're drinking your shakes, and that was my first experience with doing Kalima, you know, colonics, and fasting, and you know, looking at the stuff coming out of you and poking at it with chopsticks, and you know, it was awesome. I mean, it was like every morning you had a group you were fasting with, and over your breakfast shake or whatever, we were allowed to get either a veggie broth, either one or two veggie broths a day, or a young Thai coconut, which, you know, went in Thailand. And you'd be sitting around the table with other people, and you'd just be talking about like, oh yeah, man, I pulled this worm out, and you know, unfortunately, nobody was taking digital pictures at that time. I probably would have been like, I would have just, yeah, you want to see my trip to, you want to see my pictures from my vacation? Here's a tapeworm. Here's something, I don't know what it is, but you know,
just came out of me, man.
Yeah, I got it in a jar. It's in the refrigerator if you want to see
my pet right now.
Yeah, so that was my experience. You're saying that, yeah, you guys are in Thailand doing the same thing. Now, thinking about all the lemon, I was wondering, I bet you could have a great time if you had the miracle fruit. Are you familiar with miracle fruit?
No.
Okay, it's pretty amazing. You look it up. I don't know the Latin name, but it should come up. It's a bush. I think it's native to Central America, and it produces these little red berries. They look kind of like cranberry size, and you put them in your mouth, and it's more seed than berry, and you scrape the flesh off, and you know, move the seed around your tongue and your mouth, and then you take it out, and it has kind of a tart flavor, and it leaves this kind of weird taste in your mouth. The way they call it the miracle fruit or miracle berry, anything sour after eat it tastes sweet. Anything sweet tastes like vomiting, disgusting.
Yeah. Oh, well done, Phil.
Is that it?
So you can peel and eat a lemon, and it's like you're eating lemonade. You can eat a grapefruit and it's almost too sweet. You'd probably be nauseous. You couldn't eat an orange because it's too much, anything like that. You can drink a dry wine, like a red wine that's, you know, a little harsh or, you know, more stringent, and it's going to taste sweeter. You can drink apple cider vinegar. It's crazy. So I consider if you do the lemonade, you know, kind of fast or something. It's also great for people with maybe diabetes or sugar issues. Of course, you know, unless you have access to the fruit. I have some in the freezer, and I used to have a plant. They do grow well here in Florida. I just can't grow them. I failed, but you know, it's kind of an interesting novelty, and you know. If you ever do another lemonade, you know, straight lemon juice thing, you track down some miracle berries and give it a try. Because I considering the ones I have in the freezer, I have some Myers lemons, which Meyer lemon is a little less acidic than a regular lemon, but it's still sour. And they peel kind of like an orange, so you can eat the slices.
Wow.
Really, really pucker.
Had Maya lemons, Phil? They're really good. They're kind of sweet. They're really yummy.
No, never had them.
Yeah, you could probably grow, you know, have an indoor lemon tree, and you know where you are. They grow in pots, and you could potentially have, you know, I've seen people in cold climates up in Michigan with citrus, you know, that they they grow indoors, and then in the summertime they drag it outside, and they're able to get fruit from it. So yeah,
I don't think we really get any summertime here, so that might be difficult.
We'll get a sun lamp.
Although saying that, this year we've had a great spring and summer. It's been unusually. I think they prepped the weather perfect for lockdown. Not that I'm going to go into that at all, but
at the window. Well,
yeah.
It hasn't really impacted me so much. I do food. I have some food clients that I do meal service for. So I'm considered a necessary whatever business.
Yeah.
And for the most part, what I've seen is a portion of people wearing masks, a portion of people not wearing masks, a portion of people upset at the people not wearing masks, a portion of people that are like, wear a mask, don't wear a mask, it's cool. And businesses, impacted, but for the most part, for me, I've just kind of, before COVID, I wasn't sick. During COVID, I'm not sick. After COVID, I'm not sick. It's like we've had all these interesting Zika and other versions, and I'm not impacted.
It's really, for me, it's really frustrating. Like, we've been doing this work for so long, and just, it's frustrating to see that everybody's arguing about masks, but no one's really talking about health. Like, we need to put the whole world on a rise and shine cleanse, and drinking celery juice and eating fresh fruit. Like, we just need to, like, come on, people. I want to shake people. I'm just like,
oh man,
it's just so frustrating. It's just like, come on. Like, why are we discussing things that have nothing to do with health? Like, what? We should be fasting right now. Everybody.
Sure.
Well,
or taking antivirals, antimicrobials. I mean, here's my toolkit. This is reishi, chaga, padi arco, alcohol and water decoction. So it's both a alcohol extract and then a water extract. And like, this is enough to save a small community. And, I take my little dropper full and I bottle it up and send it to family and friends and people that, I have it at the market available for people. But yeah, nobody's talking about the efficacy of licorice root for, viral infections and support of lung. I mean, sure, Gabriel Cousins and folks that are aware of natural medicine and preventative, but yeah, you're not going to see that. It's all about shaming and restrictions and projections, and it's just like, prevention, how about that? Prevention and awareness. So
going on to that.
Yeah, what is that? Is that chaga?
Yeah, Tim Casey just sent me this from, he's in Connecticut. So he hand harvested this piece of chaga and he sent it to me as a gift. So.
Oh, wow.
Like, this stuff, like, imagine if everybody's kitchens were filled with herbs. Like, we wouldn't even be having this discussion. People, we need to impact, and that's what we're doing. It's going to be a grassroots effort. It's not going to come from the top. It's going to be us talking to each other and helping our friends and family and sending each other gifts. Like, here's some chaga. Here's what I got,
Yeah, man, the street value of that. Holy cow.
It's like gold in this world.
You're like, back in the day, it'd be like, oh yeah, I got 3 ounces of, and now it's like 3 ounces of what? I got 3 ounces of chaga. I'm like, okay, yeah, now we're talking. Like, that other stuff.
I had some chaga that I was brewing, and I think that was 3 years.
You brewed it you used the same piece?
No, I just left it in the alcohol for 3 years.
Oh, okay, cool. Wow.
And that's just So that's and I decocted it on a full moon. So that's a nice powerful concoction, that one.
Okay, well, I think it might be on my live a live video on Facebook. There we go. That's the reishi.
Wow.
So I slice up the reishi and put it in the alcohol.
Oh.
I break up the chaga. I put it in the alcohol. I let it sit. You did 3 years. I did like 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And then I pour it off. And now that it's spongy and softer, I break it up and I put it through the juicer with the blank plate, you know, masticating juicer.
Yeah.
You got to do it in small amounts because it's super fibrous and it'll shut down your juicer. If you do it in small amounts, it comes out like coffee grounds.
Oh,
So
wow.
now you have these coffee grounds and you can simmer those, and that's where you get the water the decoction.
Oh.
And then you dry those grounds and you add it to your smoothie, or you can even add it to a soil mixture. Like there's no way I'm throwing that stuff away. You know, even after I've gone through all these processes with it, I'm like, I'm eating this. This is, this stuff is too important. So I have a big Ziploc bag full of the grounds and everything after I've done the extraction, and I'm kind of like using it here and using it there, but it's a really a great way to get every little bit that the juicer just crushes it, and now when you do the water extraction,
so you do an alcohol extraction first, then you do the water extraction.
Yes, and then I combine them both after I've strained everything and I got the grounds and everything. After the water extraction, I pour it through seed milk bag or mesh bag, and after it's cooled, and then I squeeze it out, get all that out of there, and then I just put that on a dehydrator tray and with a sheet and dry it. And
so why do you need to do that? Like, why can't you just like eat this stuff?
Why can't I eat?
Well, chew on some reishi or chaga.
It's kind of like eating bark, you know, like we're not designed, our digestive system. I guess if you powdered it, of course, the alcohol extract's going to pull out certain compounds that our digestive system wouldn't. And then the water extract also pulls out different. I think we would get the water soluble compounds out of there. Heat.
And this is something that's been done traditionally for forever, you know?
Yeah, we're not like really focused on enzymes and the living components. You know, that would be more if you're eating shiitake mushrooms or an edible mushroom with tree, like woody medicinal mushrooms that aren't really culinary. It's more about the catechins and the other kind of tannic compounds that really they don't necessarily die. They're not. This isn't like the live food kind of approach where we got to eat the mushroom off the tree. This is where we're extracting these unique compounds that heat helps us to access, and alcohol and other, there's probably other really unique extraction processes like freeze drying. So, there's some amazing, Paul Stamets and, all these other, pioneers of mushroom medicine have, pretty much wrote the book or books on accessing that stuff.
Yeah,
what I was going to make a comment about there's a variety of reishi mushroom that grows here in Florida. It's in the Gynoderma family. It's not exactly the same Gynoderma that is known as reishi, but it's almost indistinguishable in terms of appearance. I actually brought some to this guy Romania. Do you know Romania?
I know of Romania, yeah.
Okay, I was at some event and I had these reishi mushrooms with me, and I showed it to him, and he pretty much looked them over and said, "Yeah, this is reishi." it turns out it's a variety of Gynoderma that grows specifically on dead palm trees, where reishi grows on oak trees, or that Gynoderma variety. So this is like the Florida native Gynoderma that's unique to palm trees. So that I got really excited because I'm like, the energy of palm trees is different than the energy of oak trees. So to have that in your tincture, like embodying that or bringing that in, or even combining that with then the oak tree variety, which both of those, if you know where to look, you can get both of those here in Florida. So it's, plant medicine can be super fun and exciting, not only psychedelically, but, in terms of immune building. So.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just such a huge field, and and it's like, I don't know, we're just so uneducated with it all.
And like you were talking about with the nettle, it's just a matter of learning and identifying, and then going out and experimenting and going, yeah, this pesto's terrible. Let's try something else. This tea is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nettle tea, nettle soup, nettle tincture, nettle leaves, nettle roots, nettle flowers, nettle seeds. It's just I mean, the nettle plant, actually, the more I talk about it, the more amazing it is. Yeah. Except the trouble in England is, depending on where you live, where I live, it's very agricultural based, and they're spraying all of the time. So even though I live out in the countryside, like Phil knows, it's just, the farmers just spray, or the local people that now have moved into the village walk their dogs, because it's fashionable now to move to the countryside and have a dog. So either the dogs weed on it or the farmers sprayed it. So you have to really know where you're going so you can, get off the beaten track and go pick nettles.
Yeah, and and like you said with the sticky one, the hitchhiker guy.
Yeah.
Cleavers. You guys have horsetail as well. It doesn't grow very well down here, but I know up in the northern states, I remember up in Michigan and Illinois, I came across a lot of that. So it's that's where the exchange goes on. It's like, hey, I got shaga and nettle. I mean, I don't even really find nettle around here in Florida that much. I'm sure it's here, but it's not as abundant. So it's almost, you get like the plant exchange, where I send you some of my exotic palm tree reishi, and you send me some saguaro cactus fruit, and then you get some of the whatever Irish coast sea vegetables that I can't get here. It's just like you get the exchange going of these superfoods and combining the different elements and it's a way to make community in a positive way.
There's a company now in England. Well, I say in England, they've been going a few years, down in Cornwall, and they're called the Cornish Seaweed Company, and they actually free dive for their seaweed. So all their seaweed is hand harvested.
Wow.
So that's quite amazing.
Nice. Sea veggies, that's a whole nother territory. Now, the issue with the oceans being polluted, it's like, okay, how do we remediate? I mean, is there an intuitive element of the sea vegetables in our bodies that don't reintroduce those toxins into our body? Is it locked up? Does it pass?
Yeah, apparently the sea vegetables will lock it in, and when it goes into our body, the sea vegetables don't release. They keep it in and absorb more.
Yeah, they have a capacity to take. Yeah. That was my understanding. So it's like, okay, yeah, the oceans, but it's not to the point where the potential for that plant to pull in toxins is more than the amount that it has. And one of the interesting things, and I'm wondering, Phil, if you might comment, if Health Force has studied this, or is regards to fulvic acid or humic acid and glyphosate in terms of remediating. Do they have a compound or a capsule, a detox, protocol for glyphosate? Do you know?
No, I haven't looked into that. I'm not sure.
Because that's, the new frontier. I do believe that now that the awareness about glyphosate is coming up, that not only are people going to be labeling non-GMO and pointing that out, but you'll see on a bottle like glyphosate tested or glyphosate free, because
we say that it's like, how are you even guaranteed? We've been spraying that stuff like on the whole planet for like how long? I mean, how long's that? I don't even know how long it's been out, but it's just like it's everywhere.
Certainly, the majority of our lifetime, Phil.
And so, I mean, what we're dealing, and that it's like why we need to fast, why we need to detox, pretty much on and off all the time. It's like Gable says, the cleanse and build. Like a lot of these superfoods are really good. Well, they're good in the fast too. I mean, teas, but it's like we need to be constantly on a cleansing and then building and then cleansing and fasting and juicing all the time. It's just like it's the world we're living in.
Meditating.
To give our bodies a chance to process all these different energies, these different frequencies, and give it a chance to naturally just let release, and detox.
I concur. Let's do it. Let's make a big shared Google Calendar, and we all just like, oh yeah, today is a cleansing day. This is a breathwork day. This is time to hit the parasites. This is papaya day. Just keep it going. Because that's, I mean, the element of structure to it is like, usually we connect with, it's time to do a cleanse or a detox when we're already showing signs of fatigue, or you got bags under your eyes, you start getting lower back pain. That was a revelation for me, making the connection between lower back pain and kidney problems. Like no one ever said that was a thing. It was like, oh yeah, you hurt yourself lifting something. And like, no, your kidneys are yelling like, I need a break. I need a cleanse. Stop eating garbage.
Yeah, just to add in there, Adam, I had some sciatica 2 days ago that I haven't had for 20 years. And I was like, God, what do I do with that? So I went through all my things. And then this little voice said, go and have a lemon enema. So I went and had 2 quarts of a lemon enema. No more sciatica.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because the GI tract, everything, if you look at our anatomy, is all compact down there. You got the large intestine, small intestine, all jammed in there. And when you alter your diet a little bit, and maybe, I'm going to have a Beyond Meat burger or whatever, you like splurge, and next thing you know, you got this kind of cue ball going through your GI tract, and wherever it gets held up, it's probably pressing against something, a nerve, your kidney, your adrenal gland, or wherever it decides to stop. A lot of times it's the transverse colon, just because of gravity. It just kind of hangs there. And I noticed that, I get these really interesting symptoms when usually within 24 hours or so of eating something that's not good, or overdoing something that's constipating or drying. And the symptoms go away when I have a significant, either I do an enema or I eat a bunch of watermelon, and I notice that I've just cleared everything out. But it correlates, to the importance of taking care of the bowel, and then also not eating stupid stuff that's counterproductive to health.
Right.
But knowing that.
Yeah. I mean, self-care is every day. We have to be constantly on it. We can't go, I'm going to eat junk today and then I'll cleanse or fast later. It's like every day. It's like every day is self-care day.
Hey
Well,
guys, I just want to bring in there about the Roundup, right? I just found a little thing on it. So it was used in the UK in 1976.
That's my year of birth. That was when I was born.
So I said, yeah, most of our lifetime. So yeah, there you go. So
Yeah.
Roundup is the brand name of a systemic broadleaf, a broad spectrum glyphosate-based herbicide originally produced by Monsanto, which Bayer acquired in 2018. Glyphosate is the most widely used herbicide in the United States. As of 2009, sales of Roundup herbicide still represented 10% of Monsanto's revenue. So get this bit at the end right. Despite the competition from the Chinese, but I didn't know that. So the Chinese produce other glyphosate-based herbicides. So we haven't just got Roundup; we've got a whole Chinese take on it as well now.
Well,
Yeah.
this week there was a settlement. Was it 10 billion or something this week? I think there's a $10 billion settlement over what they've done. I mean, and yet they're still in business. It's crazy to me. Like these companies, like, you know, Johnson & Johnson are the ones working with vaccines, but they've had a pretty bad track record. You know, it's like, how are these, like, if any of us like set up a business and we hurt somebody, we'd be in jail like tomorrow. But these companies, years and years, they destroy the planet, they destroy people's health, and yet they're still in business.
Well, Phil, if we just talk about curing cancer,
we're in trouble.
We're in trouble. But they can claim that a product cures cancer and they get a pat on the back for it.
Or they give a bunch of people cancer with chemicals in their beauty products and they just pay out a little money and maybe their stock dips a little bit, but you know, it's just business as usual with your, it's unfortunate. I'd like to see a new system emerge. I think we are seeing some of that. Hopefully the awareness. I know that a lot of people are being silenced, but that also means that, you know, what do they say? When you're over the targets, when you get the flack. So yeah. If you're over the target, you know, if you're doing the due diligence, expect to get pushback, get trolled, lose friends and family members for a period in terms of, you know, their understanding or their patience with you, or but also expect for, you know, some of these social media companies to ban you, block you, suspend you, do whatever. I mean, that's pretty much the goal, I think. For some
so
of
just
these.
to go to that, back to that company I just spoke about, what I didn't realize was they created Agent Orange.
Oh yeah.
And it was a herbicide deployed during Vietnam, and it ended up traumatizing the Vietnamese and the American troops.
Deformities, yeah.
But what else I found out the other day was it actually destroys rice.
Right.
Oh,
it was biological warfare. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
So
warfare. It wasn't actually
their food supply.
Yeah, so you know, we were kind of told that it was about about defoliating the trees so the troops could see the enemy, but actually it destroyed their food chain. And the best way to destroy your enemy is to destroy your food chain.
So I mean, you really wonder, like, we're doing all this stuff where these companies are destroying, like they are the terrorists for all over. And then we're responsible because we drove a car.
Philip, you can't say that on this show.
I will say whatever I want. I'm done with this nonsense.
Yeah, put your mask on while you're at it.
Yeah, shut up and put your mask on.
We don't care about other people because we don't wear a mask.
Hey, Phil, just go and hug someone.
No, no more hugging. I'm done with it.
You can go around the neighborhood with a mask on spraying Roundup, but you can't, you know, go around the neighborhood without a mask on giving out superfoods, you know.
They drive these little golf carts here with a guy who doesn't have a mask. He's got a giant tank on the back of the golf cart, and he's spraying down the side of the sidewalks. I'm just like, nobody's outraged by that, but now everybody's terrified of this invisible virus, whether it's whatever, you know, made up thing, and not taking care of their health. But that's okay. Like that's happening every day. Like,
yeah.
and you know, and it's just nonstop. And my mom's bringing up, you know, before that was DDT. Let's just spray all the kids with DDT. It's fine.
Sure.
Yeah, Phil, what I didn't realize was they used to make DDT wallpaper. In the States, they had DDT wallpaper to kill the mosquitoes so the kids didn't get bitten. I mean,
brilliant.
Wow.
Yeah, that's like the clothing that have insect repellent in it.
Isn't that just called cotton? Isn't that just called cotton-rich clothing nowadays?
No, they have synthetic, clothing.
Really, it's got stuff in it. Oh my god.
Yeah, and it's like good for 100 washes. So I mean, it's like, are you kidding?
So what you've got a question though, Adam, is the 100% cotton t-shirts that people wear that's got 52% of all the pesticides produced on the planet dumped on it.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Yeah.
Well, there's a nice meme that somebody put out, like, you're wearing this mask, the cotton mask that was grown in glyphosate and non-organic cotton, and you're just like, that's all wrapped around your face now. It's like, what?
Well, think about crop rotation. You grow cotton for a season, you dump, and it's a clothing crop, so it's regulated a different way in terms of pesticides, and then you rotate peanuts, which is a food crop, in between seasons, which is regulated different as a food. Did you clean the soil before you put the peanuts in? Because we're going clothing crop, food crop. No, so consider, not only is your clothing loaded with chemical pesticides, but now your peanut butter as well.
Okay, guys, I've got to bring you guys in on this one now then. So I just looked up DDT wallpaper, right?
Oh my gosh.
DDT wallpaper was introduced in 1946. DDT wallpaper has been tested for 27 months. The article said, and was proven to kill flies, cockroaches, mosquitoes, silverfish, ants, moths, bedbugs, and spiders. Rooms wallpapered with DDT wallpaper had a 100% kill rate in 24 hours. And tests indicated the effectiveness lasts for months, even if the wallpaper was washed or brushed. Sorry, it's not funny, by the way. It's horrendous.
Is it available still?
I haven't looked to see
I
if
don't think
it's available.
So. I mean, it's like they still use DDT in certain countries, but I think it's banned in like US and America and stuff, but we let other people use it, So it's still in our supply chain. We're still getting it. I mean, what was it, like 100% of umbilical cord blood contains DDT and other pesticides and chemicals?
Yeah.
Just
jet fuel. Yeah.
Oh, we got an uphill battle in terms of like fasting, cleansing, getting everybody on board. And, we've got work cut out, and it's like there's like some tough love that we need to do right now. We have to stand up as sovereign beings, men, and just go, enough is enough. Like the more of us do it and say, stop, this is crazy.
Oh, Phil, it's a better one. You won't believe this one.
Okay, go ahead.
DDT, is DDT still being used? Although the pesticide was banned in many countries, some countries in Africa, Asia, and South America needed the pesticide for mosquito control in order to reduce the risk of malaria, right? So just while I remember it, the island that Kay and I were on, called Kachang, the Americans sprayed that in around 2010 for mosquitoes, and there was no mosquitoes left. So they must have used DDT, right? So anyway, it says here, in 2006, get this, the WHO supported the indoor use of DDT in African countries where malaria remained a major challenge. Wasn't that amazingly kind of them.
Wow. I wanted to share a link with you guys now that we're talking about all this.
Well, in terms of spraying, we're still doing that. So we didn't learn from that. We didn't learn from Love Canal. We didn't learn from Silent Spring, Rachel Carson. And in China, how did they do, like, I mean, there's a lot of Chinese good things with herbal medicine, but what do they do to Wuhan? They're spraying down the streets, like they're these trucks. And I think they've been doing the same thing in New York. Oh, the air is toxic. We're going to get this virus. I'm like, no, you're going to spray this and people are going to breathe it in. And then they're going to report lung issues. And then you're going to diagnose it as coronavirus. But really, you just toxified their lungs with this toxic chemical. Sorry, I'm fired up right now. It's not. It's just enough.
Yeah. We gotta share some hope. Okay.
Yeah.
A little ray of sunshine. I just posted in the chat, one of the things I'm doing these 30-day transformations with folks that I'm coaching in groups. But one of the things that I'm using is Biomedic, and you're familiar with David Sandoval, yeah?
No, I don't know him.
Phil M?
No, vaguely know the name.
David Sandoval, I think he was involved with formulating for Health Force very early on. But he has a capsule he calls it Biomedic, and it's a combo probiotic with fulvic acid, humic acid, and I think there's wheat germ in it in the formula, and it's apparently the wheat germ repairs the gut. But I shared a link to basically a research. It's dated October 26, 2017, and it showed that it produced a 74% reduction of glyphosate and 75% reduction of C-reactive protein in preclinical trials. So this is, and I've basically, since glyphosate is so pervasive and it's destroying the gut, it destroys the gut biome, I guess it would make sense that you would combine it with probiotics as you're pulling the glyphosate out, reestablishing the gut flora. But this is actually, this Biomedic, are you familiar with Jeffrey Smith?
Yeah.
From, yeah.
GMO something.
Jeffrey Smith he's the most outspoken, at least in the United States, he was the most outspoken against GMOs and Roundup. He would be the most likely person that Monsanto would put a hit out on, which they probably do. He's just protected, I'm sure. But he is the number one salesperson for this Biomedic, because he's on a mission to glyphosate is his nemesis pretty much. And but this is a ray of sunshine and positive thing out there, that there is stuff to remediate glyphosate from the body. I think Dr. Mercola did an interview, and they were specific. He was talking about not only glyphosate but aluminum and other heavy metals, and that the one that was pulling out glyphosate was fulvic acid and humic acid. So you can get tinctures that have those specifically in them, and then the Biomedic has that, but it also has the probiotics and the wheat germ, but also silica. So this circles back to your nettles, horsetail, and then for us in the tropical or semi-tropical, bamboo. So you can take the green leaves from bamboo and simmer them and get the same effect as making nettle tea and making your horsetail tea, and get that silica. And silica is critical for pulling out aluminum, which apparently the glyphosate and the aluminum have a synergy where they mess you up big time. So it's like, okay, how do we arm ourselves against this? And it's, it's knowing that there's things like the Biomedic capsules, or if you want to go like me, I'm like, how does this work? I want to know what the compounds in, and so it's fulvic acid, humic acid, which is also shilajit. You guys are familiar with shilajit, which is an Ayurvedic. It's basically a scraping from a certain soil layer that is high in fulvic acid. So it's called shilajit, but in Ayurvedic medicine, and it's kind of this. I mean, I get it. It's like a powder, but it has a weird taste to it. Very kind of like eating dirt. I think Cindy Dodig has a really interesting way to describe. It's like something like monkey sweat or something really like it's the flavor is not the greatest.
I love the flavor of shilajit. I don't know what you're talking about, buddy.
She's the one. I was like, yeah, I put shilajit in, and she's like, oh, not that shilajit.
So it's like it's a form of resin, and then that's another, like these resins. Like we have this one customer that came to Excelsior, which is the manufacturing company, and they added Boswellia or frankincense resin to their formula. And we put I wish you had the picture of this. We put this formula we do spectrography to basically it's identity testing of the formula, and the color spectrum on that formula was incredible. And there's a whole new thing of bringing it. I mean, I put a drop of frankincense on my tongue. These resins, they're really helpful in helping us detox and just vibrate at a higher frequency.
Yeah, I put that on the soles of my feet every night, Phil, that frankincense.
Yep.
So
I go through the whole body, like it goes into the whole body.
I just want to add something about shilajit, right? I've got a friend of mine that's actually a Ayurvedic alchemist. He does Rasaiyana medicine. So what he's done is he's got lots of samples from all around the world, and he's actually alchemized the shilajit. And 99% of what he tests have got 0 shilajit in them.
Right.
So he actually he's a really, really interesting dude. He trained with an alchemist in India, and he doesn't just make an alchemy smoothie like everyone talks about alchemy. He actually transmutes things like mercury, and he transmutes crystals actually into medicine. And so when he talks to me about, Phil, look, I've tested all of those. Every sample that anyone's ever given me, there's nothing in them worth taking. He said, so don't take the shilajit.
I've heard that there is some maybe even heavy metals and things in the shilajit.
Yeah, so his thing is, out of all the samples he's tested, they are not actually worth taking. Which is very interesting.
If it makes sense to cut out the middleman and just take humic acid and fulvic acid.
Yeah.
But then part of me wants to think, if you could get shilajit that was worthwhile, are you getting the benefit of the synergy of that compound that's,
if you can find it, but how many people have got that ability to be able to break it down to nothing, to find nothing there?
Yeah.
So for instance, like when you do the alchemy process on mother of pearl, you break that all the way down, so then you're just basically getting pure calcium. And it just takes every single thing that is an impurity. It's the same as if you take sulfur, yellow sulfur that's poisonous, and process the yellow sulfur. Mm-hmm. It actually becomes 100 times more potent than MSM.
Okay, how do you? And that's a special.
Oh man, that's a whole.
Technique.
That's like days of process.
Okay.
We're gonna get him on the show.
Yeah.
So what do you think about the pure black shilajit, I wonder?
That's what he's talking about. Yeah, I mean, I can ask him to come on the show.
What do you got? Oh, that's like tar.
That's pure black shilajit. This one's from Symbiotica, but this stuff's it feels really good. And I've tried different capsules and powders, and there's something that it feels, and whether it's Shilajit or not, it feels really good. So you put it in hot water. You don't need a lot. Like you put a little blob stuff, and you put it in hot water, and it feels vibrationally really high, you know.
Does it taste like tarmac, Phil?
Yeah, a little, yeah.
Yeah, I had some. I loved it. It was just like chewing. It was like the taste of chewing it was like tarmac on a hot day.
Well, talk about that is like creosote. I mean, I grew up with creosote where you just painted it on the fence. So I'm now living in an area where there's chaparral, which is, you know, creosote bush. That stuff is so potent, like chaparral. Like you make tea and you're like, once is enough. It's so strong, but it's very healing. We did baths with it for a while, but it's so potent. There's so much resin. It stained our bathtub. So it's like, but like the medicine, there's so much medicine all around us all the time.
Yeah. So one thing I just wanted to add to your to Adam's thing about getting the glyphosates out. The medical medium does a pesticide tea, and I think that's really worth. I was just trying to find it quickly on the side here, but I haven't been able to find it. So I think that's something that's really worth talking about because it's quite a simple, inexpensive. I've got the ingredients here, but I was just trying to find it on the side so I could just put it in a link. The medical and medium pesticide tea, because I think that's just, you know, it's relatively cheap, relatively simple to do. You can go to the health food store and buy the components for it, and then you can brew your own tea, and you could brew up, you know, 1 or 2 quarts and leave it in the fridge, and you could drink that daily quite easily, inexpensively. And
teas are something that's accessible to everybody. It's like if we can all get teas in every day, whatever it's available. If it's just ginger, fresh ginger tea, just whatever teas we can get in. There's so much, like the chaga, the reishi. If we can get these teas in every day, it's really going to help the body so much. It's going to provide that nutritional potency.
I'm just going to see if I can. I clicked on a link and downloaded the 10 top medical medium teas. So I'll see if it's got to be in here I can share. No, he's talking in this one. He's actually talking about individual teas, and he's coming across nettle tea, thyme tea, chaga tea, but not the actual recipe for the pesticide tea, which I would really like to be able to find and stick on the side links. I think that's a really useful one. So anyway, I'm going to say it again. I'm just going to put a link actually on our video and just put pesticide, medical medium pesticide tea, because I think as we've been talking about that, that's really useful.
So we've been going quite a long time. We probably maybe should wrap the show up soon.
Yeah, I think we should. I think we
could
should.
talk. We didn't even get to really fasting. We're just like some amazing topic.
Well, I mean, fasting. I mean, there's so many different approaches, but I think it's pretty well established that calorie restriction shifts metabolism, enhances detoxification, and if you go to the extreme of juice fasting or water fasting, right, you know, you're basically sliding from that area of calorie restriction, which you can do while you're still eating, to a dramatically restrictive to pretty much like consuming no calories, to where the body, you know, I'm not sure what your background is, Bill Grist, with, but I know Philip at Tree of Life, you saw it in the trenches, you know, for I don't know how many years you were there, but it's so powerful. Whether you're doing green juice, were you there during the period when they were doing coconut water during fasts?
Well, so when I got there, the fasts were, it was right at the beginning. It was before he went on Rainbow Green. It was like orange juice, carrot juice, some green juice, and like then we went to so there was like a lot of blood sugars up and down with like that amount of like, because it was straight, it wasn't even diluted. So there was a lot of sugars coming in. And then we also did fresh garlic juice, which was, that stuff is intense. So
yeah, try meditating with a bunch of people in a confined space.
so they decided to stop that, but then he went to Rainbow Green, and there was like a really good balance in. I think, you know, maybe went a little too far with like taking all fruits out, but it definitely balanced the energy out during the cleanse, like during those 7 days of fasting. The green juice was more, maybe it was just more gentle, whereas the fruit juice was kind of more cleansing, and then it would have the blood sugars up and down. People are not used to that, you know, so yeah.
Yeah, I think from my experience with fasting with the majority of people, I think green juice is a really great entry level with maybe apples. You know, I know for me, when I've just done that 38-day fast, I did mainly orange and apple. Well, orange, lemon and ginger, and apple, lemon and ginger. And I didn't get any blood sugar ups and downs. But I know if I'd have tried to do that in the beginning, I'd have been so poorly. So I think to start on the green juices with maybe green apples is a really great, you know, maybe a bit of fruit juice in there. But I think once you take the fruit juice, you know, once you extract the fiber out of and you just have the fruit juice, I think that's in the beginning where you have problems. Where if you're eating the whole fruit, I think the fiber helps you balance out the blood sugar more. You know, and I think ultimately for me a fruit juice fast is way more potent than a green juice fast, but it's just building. It's like becoming an athlete.
Well, yeah, it's like, yeah, I mean, if somebody just jumps into a fast, they've never done it, they're eating a really bad diet, then they're not going to do so good. And it may not even be that good for them. It's maybe stressful.
Yeah, I think.
If you go, okay, just have a juice for breakfast, and then maybe to begin with, don't eat until mid-morning. Like, start off that way, you know? It's like, just lighten up the load. It's like...
I think we need to, I think we need to do a show on fasting, Phil, because that's, you know, there's some great points coming up. And we could go on for another hour talking about that. So I think let's save that for another day.
Right.
and then we can, because, you know, we've all got a lot to share on that subject. So I think it'd be really great to dive into that.
Excellent.
Well, it was a great show. Great topic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go eat a lemon, just, you know, in your honor, because. But yeah, I want to dissolve some, and also get my lymph sucking through my stomach line. You know, that all for some people that's like, oh my gosh, why do you want to do that? I'm like, yeah, let's do that. So,
yeah, you know, I love the idea of you know, that.
Yeah.
You know, and I could just see my cells going, you know, and I think
it's a workout, you know.
Right, talk about cellular exercise. But, you know, don't do this in the beginning.
Yeah, have you puckered today is my new slogan.
Have you puckered today? I like that. Adam, I really like that. Adam, it's been a real pleasure, my friend. It's been really great to meet you and to share stories.
Awesome. Yeah,
you know, let's do it again. You know, let's do the show again. Let's come on again. I'd love it if I could come out to the States sometime and spend some time with you. I think that would be an awesome experience. Sounds fun. You know, and if you're in the UK, you're welcome.
Awesome. I'm due for another European tour. So I didn't make it over to the UK, but I did have a great experience in France and Ireland, and I did Belgium and Italy. So
oh wow.
I'm due to and it was a while ago, so I'm eager to get back. Before, apparently, when I was there, it was hard to find kale in France. They were just feeding it to livestock.
Oh wow.
It was like, hey, can we get some kale? Let's make some kale chips. And my friend Arletti, who was a guest at Tree of Life, she's like, yeah, it's hard to find. Nobody eats it yet. It hasn't caught on here. And I think like within a year, some raw foodie or some woman over there she just cracked the market on kale. And now, I hear back that like now people eat kale there. They're not feeding it to livestock as much. So,
Wow, amazing.
yeah. So it's interesting. You go to different parts of the country or different parts of the world and you're like, oh yeah, can I get, and like, nobody eats that. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I would like to. Where can I find it?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, we feed it to the pigs. Oh, okay. Well, can I get some before you feed it all to the pigs? So.
Yeah, cool.
Let's hope through all of this changes, people start growing gardens everywhere and we start sharing food. I mean, that's my goal. As it breaks down, we're going to be.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of positive stuff that's, not being featured, but it's happening. Because I mean, we're here doing this.
Doing it, yeah.
Yeah, and
and there's
more stuff.
There's more and more people like us just going, come on, let's just start talking about this stuff and sharing it. Let's just make it mainstream. Let's just make it normal. Let's just make it normal to talk about good food, great detoxification, bowel movements, meditation. Let's just get it all out on the table and chat about it.
Yep.
Adam, thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Have
Phil.
a great rest of your day. And I think it's evening for you. So
9 o'clock for me. It's getting ready for bed now.
Yeah.
Great. Well, let's end it there. Thank you, everybody.
Cheers, Phil.
Blessings
No,
to you.
it's